Today's episode of The Watch is brought to you by Homeland. The show with its finger on the pulse returns for a new season starring Claire Danes and Mandy Patinkin. The crisis in Washington continues with the attempted assassination of the president. And now, as the ultimate outsider, Carrie Mathison attempts to save a government heading off the rails while a resistance movement threatens violent revolution. Homeland returns with new episodes Sundays at 9 p.m. Download the Showtime app now to start your free trial.
I need support staff to clear the room.
Stand up and walk, now.
Hello, and welcome to The Watch. My name is Chris Ryan, and I am the editor at TheRinger.com, and joining me in the studio, E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Are we still doing a podcast?
This feels awesome! This is so much better than losing! The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. This is us, heads. Yeah. I'm sure you can find another pod. We're going to talk about the Eagles. We are going to talk about Cloverfield Paradox. We are going to talk about all the trailers that dropped during the Super Bowl.
Halftime show.
It's still a pop culture podcast, man.
But it's important to know.
But this is us.
A lot of things died last night. Yeah. Jack from This Is Us.
Yo!
Everyone knows he died.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
The Patriots football dynasty. Potentially our professional relationship with the head of Bill Simmons Media Group.
He's been very magnanimous.
Very gracious. Sent us some emails.
Very, very gracious.
And also the albatross around our civic neck for our entire lives. This was a very important moment for us and obviously for our hometown that I cannot process. I am really confused. And I feel like because people have been kind enough to come along a journey with us for some time in this podcast, they can peek behind the curtain. They can know like the real neuroses.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
We spent so much of our lives watching this team.
Yeah.
Much of it together.
Yeah.
Hung over in bars and people's houses and dorm rooms and they
sunglasses and Advil.
They weren't ever going to win.
Yeah.
And then they won. And I still don't quite believe it. And I think the first thing people need to know is you're thought of as a cerebral kind of guy.
Me?
You're a thinker, you're a writer, you're an editor. You can tackle.
I'm pretty emotional.
You can tackle. My main memory from last night is Chris coming towards me like Malcolm Jenkins. Helmet on helmet to me.
Yeah.
In some images that have leaked from last night's party. Full disclosure, the video cannot be released due to the language that Chris employed. I'm on the ground, both emotionally, because
Did I knock you down?
Well, I thought I broke my nose. It's true. And it would have been worth it. It would have been worth it.
I didn't know that.
A couple other things came out last night that we forgot about. You reminded me that I'm a terrible sports fan, especially when to watch sports.
You're fine. You're just very dark. So like anytime nobody, if we didn't convert a third down, Andy would be like, well, that's it. Yeah. What a waste of time.
Yes, which is also how I watched The Wire.
Yeah, I know.
It's actually a transitive property. I am very pessimistic when it comes to beloved characters. But look, this means a lot.
Yeah, man.
It's weird because one of the things I'm gonna try to do put my arms around this thing. We love to talk about consensus TV shows. We love to talk about things that are shared experience. We mourn the monoculture, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Sports can be magic.
Yeah, man.
Sports can be really, really dumb and really annoying and frustrating in all sorts of ways. But I got to tell you, last night and all yesterday, I was thinking about not just all the time we spent together with our various friends and roommates and loved ones over the years, but people we went to high school with.
Yeah.
People that I just knew, people's parents, just people in the city that we came from, radio hosts, sports radio hosts who I'd listened to for hours, like my old guitar teacher when I was in ninth grade. Like all these people had one thing in common, and it wasn't me.
It was the Eagles.
It was the Eagles, man. It does matter to a city, and it's very emotional to actually just have that kind of joy and catharsis regardless of the state of your nose bone.
Yeah, I don't want to get too weird and sentimental about this, but there's something very specific about football and football Sundays, about the seasonal aspect of it and the way that your week builds up to it and starts with it in some ways or ends with it, depending on how you want to look at it. One thing that just really hit me watching the game was this almost this flood of sense memory for all the time that I had spent with this team
Across your life.
across my life. You inevitably think about like people who have passed through your life, like you're saying, like, and even not even the people who've passed through your life, but other people on that team or associated with that team that you had a connection to or felt a connection to, like even friggin' like, you know, Deshaun Jackson, like, you know what I mean? Or Jim Johnson, or people that you really were emotionally tied to that.
Brian Dawkins.
When you wait this long for something, it's almost overwhelming to kind of process. Like, I don't think I've actually processed it at all in some ways. And one thing I will say is that it feels incredibly good.
It does feel good.
And that I was almost like, it was a real what do I do with my hands moment, because as a couple of the moments in the game, like when we got the fumble on Brady in the fourth, I like lost my mind.
Yeah,
and then
proof.
I was like, I think I'm actually having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And I think I said like 40-year-old guys have heart attacks. This is happening.
Yeah. That was, you did say that. You did look a peculiar shade of red.
Yeah.
You kind of looked like you went sort of a Kansas City Chiefs color palette
Sure.
over your entire body.
Yeah.
I still feel paralyzed because, first of all, I'll be a TV critic. That was a great game. That
Sure.
was great television. Bad color
Holy
commentating.
shit, that takes a long time though,
But
man.
it
When
was
you're involved in it, because like if you're not, you can look at Twitter and maybe like,
It was,
oh my God.
I mean, I did look at Twitter and like did some nervous tweets, and I look back on it, and apparently when I am very hyped up on a game and maybe have had some beers, I skip words in my tweets or I add words, you know, which I actually
You wish they had the edit button?
It's the only
Come on, Jack.
The only other time that happened was when our friend, who's also a dear, an obsessed Eagles fan who spent a lot of time with us, Matt, may have lent me an Adderall when I was trying to write my first book, and I like wrote 2 chapters and I looked back and there were no verbs. You know, it was just all adjectives for like 3 chapters. So there's a common.
Michiko Kakutani is just like, this is great
She thought it was
stuff.
brilliant.
This is good stuff.
There are a couple things that happened. The game never allowed us, this was fitting as Philadelphia fans, it never allowed us a moment to sort of process that we might win because it came down to a Hail Mary that I was sure they were going to win. And so moments later, we were stunned, and I was still waiting. And in some ways, I will be for the rest of my life to hear Al Michaels say, and the Patriots take the field for the 5th quarter.
Well, that's because Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth
they had
spent the
another
last
chance.
20 minutes of the game talking about the Patriots, even though the Eagles were like on track to win it.
But didn't you feel at any moment that it just was going to be it just doesn't seem
I was
right.
terrified. That like Tom Brady with 2 minutes left, and all he has to do is score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion. Like I was like, this is going to happen.
You
like,
said this is what the only thing you didn't want to happen.
well, I because it was like I don't mind losing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the Falcons. I can't beat a team.
Shucks to Rembert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't go through that. That's
Yeah.
too much. But
That was too much. Just a little more of the pageantry.
sure, man.
I do want to give our own personal Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor to Bradley Cooper, star of Burnt.
Seriously, man. Like
Who-
talk about a guy who's really come up in this world.
I mean, to be in the owner's box with only the owner and his son on the other
But
side.
he like if you want to know what Andy and I looked like last night, and
Yeah.
not in terms of like lustrous hair
Speak for yourself.
or just apparel or anything, but emotionally,
Arena Shake was with us as well for part of the
Bradley
game.
Cooper was my avatar, man. Like
Yeah.
that's what I looked like.
He was
I was
passionate.
like cry screaming and I was talking about being in Burnt.
In what quarter of the game did he take the limitless pill, do you think? In
Oh, my
order
God.
to like I think he waited until halftime and then
It's a really good
and then
question.
he unlocked the mysteries of Man of the Woods. Like he thought the new Timberlake song was good. It was like exploding brain meme. He
Yeah.
could figure it out.
yeah.
Great job by him. Great job by him. Great job by other local hero Kevin Hart for just trying to crash the field, being denied.
Shout out to Joel Embiid for crashing after
Local news.
post-game local news fan interviews. Incredible stuff.
This is a wild moment, and it just feels, one of the reasons why we're so geeked up, it just feels so deeply on Philadelphia, not just to win, but to win in a shootout against the best team in history.
Yeah.
And then also to win with much of the country also rooting for you.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That was strange. I found out that it's really interesting to see which allegiances go which way, because our buddy Jason Gallagher was still cheering against us as a Cowboys fan, which is duly noted.
That's fair.
I'll remember that. You want to talk a little bit about Timberlake before we move on to some of the trailers we saw?
Yes. Well, one of the best things about rooting for a team in the Super Bowl is the halftime entertainment becomes a lot less significant.
Yeah. People were like, what'd you think? And I was like, about what?
I know.
I just had no take.
I exchanged a word about it with your wife in the back hallway of the house we were watching
Yeah.
because we realized we were the only ones too nervous to be in the room
Yes.
and not stop moving.
My wife was like, I've watched 4 football games. Is this what it's like? I was like, no.
I think the last one was when I hosted the Super Bowl party 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Different outcome, different vibe. Chilly at both parties, though, I must add. It was, as entertainment for the Super Bowl, it was fine, I think.
I guess, yeah.
It was, the dancing
that
was...
guy can dance his ass off. It was good choreography. It was entertaining.
The dancing was good.
Yeah.
He has, and we should have worked this out ahead of time if we cared enough to do so. There probably is some algorithm that you could create of like how many world-class songs, or at least like room quieting songs, do you need to have in your catalog in order to qualify to even play the Super Bowl halftime
Sure,
show?
that's a really good question.
So he passes he passes muster on that. But there was something off about all of it, which was kind of curious. And part of what was off was the audio was weird. I mean, he was singing for much of it, which is cool because that's hard to do, especially when
you're doing that much dancing.
When you're dancing,
yeah.
And there wasn't a guest or a living guest, which we can talk about.
Yeah, no features.
His new album is trash.
Okay.
Which is also kind of surprising.
Just haven't had. If it's not an Eagles podcast, I really haven't had a chance to get into it yet.
It's trash.
Is it an Eagles podcast?
No, it is not as classy as an Eagles podcast. So that's a weird thing. And at least he sort of acknowledged that by, just doing half of one song from it underground before emerging to do the real show. But there was something, I didn't think I was going to let this bother me. There was something just sour about a lot of it. And partly it was the Prince thing. Like, yes, if you're in Minneapolis, but then just do a cover of it. There was all the controversy ahead of time whether he was going to sing with a hologram, and Prince's family was like, miss me with that. Mm-hmm. So instead it was sort of a half tribute.
I don't think that apparently that was fake news, though. He wasn't really going to do
right, but they still responded to it.
Oh,
and they didn't just scrap the hologram at the last minute.
Gotcha.
Holograms are expensive as shit.
Are they? What's the market on that?
We've been pricing it out just in case you had to take a vacation after your behavior last night.
A vacation?
Like, you're dead?
Yeah.
But what a way to go. There was something strange about that, but the thing going on underneath the surface, now again, this is, when I say underneath the surface, it's mostly happening on Twitter, although our friend John Caramonica wrote about it quite adroitly in the Times, and so I think people should check that out. The subtext was watching Timberlake's whiteness work, basically. Why he gets a pass.
In the Super Bowl?
Yeah, why he gets a pass for what happened with Janet Jackson all those years ago.
Yeah.
Why he gets welcomed back. Why he, and in many ways, and I would take it further, this album sort of crashing and burning has made me wonder, like, why did he get a pass to be a global superstar in the first place? Like, he's semi-limited in a lot of ways, and should we be interrogating that? That, like, the best producers of our time, like Pharrell and Timbaland, at the peak of their powers, were, like, shoveling him.
Isn't it because he's a 5-tool player? I mean, like, he can do all this.
Is he?
Yeah.
I think he
definitely. That guy's charming.
He's charming.
That guy has, like, good songs, and whether or not, like, I mean, it's weird. Don't be a tourist about this. I mean, like,
I'm curious. I'm just curious about.
No, man, he's a real, like, I whether I don't really care one way or another about his music, but he is a real, like, the proof is in the pudding. When you see him, you can tell that he has been training for most of his life to be this person, and he can do a lot of different stuff. He can sing, he can dance, he can be sexy, he can be fun and like approachable and mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think that's like he tries every couple of years to do this. Like, first it was like the suit and tie thing, and now it's more of a rustic man of the woods thing, and
that's not working.
Yeah, but I think that to act like he's some sort of like anomaly is weird. Like, he's not a glitch. Like, he is the system. This is actually how the music industry was supposed to work.
Yes, and always had worked.
Yeah,
and I think that I guess what I'm struggling with is a crippling hangover because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But if you put that aside, I would say seeing him reemerge, and it's not just that he's a 5-tool player. His career has been effortless. He glides through everything. He glides through divisions between pop and R&B, between race, between parts of his career, from boy band to adult superstar. And even he seems to have hit a wall in navigating what culture is in 2018. Not just because his album is bad, but systems, I don't know if systems are changing. You said he is the music business, and you're right.
He is what the music business is supposed to produce.
Yes,
yeah.
But everything does seem to be in tumult, and I think that the old guards appear to be struggling with that. And so it doesn't seem to be working for me. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Super Bowl halftime shows are hard, man. Like, what are the good ones?
Bruce,
in our time? Bruce, Prince. Beyonce.
Yeah, Gaga was fine.
And Petty.
Yeah, you're right. You need probably 15 songs to choose from that people love. Like, if the Killers did it, I think you would have enough Killers hits and they could probably get away with putting together a group of guests that would
They
make
put in
sense.
guests, yeah.
But there's not that many other bands or rock artists who
running out.
could do it, and so you're working with stuff. I think Jay could do it.
Well, that's the next thing. When he went into the song that wasn't really a hit from the last record, Suit and Tie, there was quiet expectation in our room. Oh, is Jay actually going to come out? Now, the whole point is, I think one of the things we're seeing here, this is sort of what I mean about him running into a brick wall. We know we're asking that question, and we also know simultaneously that the NFL, as currently constituted, will not have Jay-Z perform, even though he is 1,000% the next artist on deck to do it. I mean, he has the hits, he has the appeal, he can put on the live show.
Right.
It makes total sense.
Right.
But Jay-Z is also supporting Colin Kaepernick, who has been blackballed from the league. Look, I don't want to talk about any of this stuff on a day when the Eagles won, honestly, because
Sure, I got you.
Because I got a lot of problems with the NFL, except for today and maybe last night.
I was
of last night.
incredibly supportive of the NFL at various moments last night.
Yes, I know. Like, I feel like the catch rule, they really figured it out.
I
in
literally
time.
was like, way to go, Goodell, when he was handing the trophy.
You were all in. Oh, how quickly they change. By the way,
man.
Yeah, small note. Jeffrey Lurie, man, you've owned the team for 20 years. I feel like you could have written some notes for a speech. You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, come on,
They also
man.
tried to cut him off when he was dedicating the trophy
He's like,
ceremony.
he's like, if I may, I'd like to dedicate the trophy. And they were like, nope.
Yeah.
He said hard no on that.
Yeah, no, so
Look,
let's get...
there's only one legitimate halftime entertainment for last night, and that was Meek Mill. And unfortunately,
He did not, yeah. But he was felt, if not seen.
What if he had flown into the stadium on the back of an actual eagle at halftime? I'm just throwing it out there.
It's never too late. For the parade's Thursday. Look, we want to talk a little bit more about some of the pop culture stuff that came out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's always a big trailers night. So let's burn through some of them. The full Han Solo, I don't know whether they're calling this a teaser or the full
What
trailer.
does it even mean anymore?
But the full Han Solo trailer came out this morning on Good Morning America. They had teased it last night. I would say that for me, I'm still very excited to see this movie.
Okay.
It's my interest and affection for Star Wars movies is uncomplicated and pretty. It just, after Last Jedi, I'm like, I really like these movies. I just have to be honest with myself. And they're so fun to think about, and they're so fun actually. Like, I'm really excited that there's so much turmoil in this, because you're just you get to see so many different elements of the entertainment industry at work, whether it's corporate, whether it's what producers do, whether it's can directors force a unique vision onto what is mass entertainment that's planned in a boardroom 10 years in advance. And this is a really fascinating one. Obviously, Lord and Miller were supposed to direct Han Solo. They were removed from the project by Kathleen Kennedy, or left by mutual consent or whatever. Yeah. Ron Howard took over. There have been a lot of competing reports since then about how much Ron Howard wound up reshooting, what he wound up finishing, what he wound up adding or taking away. Obviously, Michael K. Williams was supposed to be in it, and he was removed, and now Paul Bettany is in it. I don't know what roles any of those guys were supposed to play, but we finally got to see some of the movie, because weirdly, for a Star Wars movie, they've been keeping this one under wraps. It's coming out on Memorial Day. Usually we have a teaser almost like a year out, I would say.
There would have been something.
And then about 6 months out, they start really hammering trailer, promo videos, featurettes,
Posters.
everything, posters. This has been one of the weirdest run-ups to a major motion picture like this in a long time, all of which would suggest that there's a problem on the movie. And there has been rumors to that extent. There's been rumors that Alden Ehrenreich's performance is really, he's made some choices, and that some acting coaches might have been brought in to help him with those choices. And very tellingly, not a lot of Alden Ehrenreich in these.
Well, particularly in the
Han Solo
teaser that was
yeah,
aired
you don't
during
even
last
see him
night.
talk in that one.
You hear his voice at one point.
Yeah.
You do not see his face.
And in the trailer that came out this morning, he says 2 lines on camera.
He says a couple things, yeah, but otherwise it's voiceover.
Yeah.
People know, I loved The Last Jedi. I loved Rogue One. I feel very cold about this whole thing. Maybe it's good. We've talked before about how the scuttlebutt, which is, we don't know what this is based on or if it's accurate sources, is that Lawrence Kasdan's script was outstanding, that Donald Glover is incredible, and that the chemistry between the two male leads might actually be quite good. It's a terrific cast. But there was something deeply off to me about this trailer, not because I was watching it in the middle of my third beer last night. This was like the first ad, so maybe I shouldn't admit that. But when I watched the full thing this morning, I I get the buttons this is pushing, and it's sort of the premise of making the movie in the first place. Like, there are people, and I do not mean to judge in any way when I say this, there are people who, when they see an image of Chewie with his arm around Han, are like, take my money. Just take all of it. And also, here's my childhood
shot of Donald Glover
in a small
wearing a
gilded
fur coat.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel that way. Like, that's for me. That's action figure stuff for me. It doesn't move me one way or another. I would like to see a good movie.
Character for you.
Well, I would like to see a good movie.
Sure.
Honestly, and Rogue One was, and Last Jedi was.
Rogue One was pretty good.
But Rogue One was. We know that it changed a lot. But Rogue One was well done. It does seem like they followed some of the playbook in that the trailer, for whatever plot it suggests that it's less of an origin story and more of a first mission, right? Like, let's get this band together and do something.
Yeah.
So that could be good, written by Lawrence Kasdan. I mean, sure, why not? But there was something that felt off about it to me. And yes, a lot of it comes down to the fact that they are hiding the ball. Like, Han Solo, one of the most famous and charming characters in movie history, certainly one of the most influential. Whenever we talk about sci-fi or genre entertainment, one of our biggest criticisms is they needed a Han Solo.
Yeah.
You need the character to be able to be the avatar for the audience and, and sort of squint your eyes and say, what's going on with this guy? You need that.
Yeah.
Aaron Reichman, terrific in Hail Caesar, a talented performer. I don't know.
We'll see.
We don't
He's got
know.
a lot of help in this movie, man.
He does have a lot of help.
A lot of charisma in the supporting cast. And I guess the only thing I would add is just how interesting it is to see, Bradford Young shot this. He shot Arrival, I believe, and he's a very talented cinematographer. And it was cool. I mean, a couple of people have mentioned this. It didn't really look like a Lord and Miller movie or a Ron Howard movie. It just looked like a new Star Wars movie. It reminded me a lot of Rogue One in some of the ways it looked and some of the vibes. And it is more set in that era, I think, of the timeline than anything else we've seen. And there's a consistency to the look there. I love the idea of it being a heist movie. I do not love the idea of it being Han Solo's old wound and what the origin story is. I know it's going to be that. Because that's exactly what Rogue One was. There's no possible way that this person would do anything morally upright other than the fact because there was something with their parents.
This is the biggest fear. This is Greedo shot first, the movie.
Yeah. No, but it's my dad didn't love me, so I became Han Solo.
Yes, and my first love, the Mother of Dragons, did not survive this movie. No, obviously
she's not in Star Wars.
She's not in Star Wars.
She's not in New Hope. Yeah.
So this idea, this edict that every character, and this doesn't come from Kathleen Kennedy or Alan Horn or Roy Disney or whoever the hell is making these decisions.
Or Walt.
This is no, it did actually come from Walt. His frozen head in a locker in Glendale is like, there must be a lost love. No, I mean this is Save the Cat. This is like Robert McKee. This is the screenplay virus that has infected everything. There must be this emotional reason for people to be the way they are. It can't just be like, it's fun because I'm a space pirate.
Right.
I do like the point you made, though, and I think it's a really accurate one. One of the things that Kathleen Kennedy should get a lot of credit for since she took over the Star Wars franchise is they did make a decision with the CGI and the production design of what a Star Wars movie looks like. Mm-hmm. And all the successful genre franchises do that. Like the Lord of the Rings movies, whether you like them or not, there was a consistency to how they looked. The Marvel movies, whether you like it or not, there's a consistency to how they look. The DC movies certainly as well, but not in a positive way in my mind. But these movies look like Star Wars movies. They look connected. Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Let's quickly go through the other two trailers. We're going to spend the second bit of this podcast talking about Cloverfield. But the other two trailers that are worth mentioning, Mission Impossible, Fallout.
I am so in on this.
Are we going to see Tom Cruise is going to die making one of these movies?
That's part of the reasons they make these movies. I want to say I'm so in on this. I've exited the back door, spun around the world, and entered again.
Yeah.
This is a great trailer.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible movies are good. That is an unimpeachable take.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with this movie is the title. The title should be much weirder, like Rogue Nation. Yeah. Ghost Protocol?
Ghost Protocol is one of the all-time heat check second titles.
You need to take two words that have never been together before and you jam them together.
Ghost Prody.
Yo, man.
Yeah.
This movie should have been called Mission Impossible Viper Directive. You know what I mean? Like, this should just be something nuts. Fallout,
The Rise of Cobra.
Fine. Yes. Fold this into the G.I. Joe expanded universe, man. Put Tatum in it. The only thing I have against this is that because they are now making these more regularly, these movies began as like auteur test drives, right? Where like each one was handed to a different
Sure.
filmmaker.
John Woo, J.J. Abrams, Brian De Palma. Yeah.
And each one was handed to Brad Bird. Each one was handed to someone different who basically reinvented it.
Sure.
There wasn't that much continuity. It didn't matter. There was no original wound for
It's
Ethan
Macquarie
Hunt.
season now.
But Macquarie is making his second one, and there are going to be...
And he had done Jack Reacher. So this is now the third Tom Cruise film that he has directed. Correct?
Well, did he direct? He didn't direct Valkyrie, but he wrote Valkyrie.
He wrote Valkyrie.
He
directed Jack Reacher. He directed the previous Mission
He has also
Impossible
written
and did
or
this one.
rewritten every movie Tom Cruise has done in the last 10 years. From The Mummy to literally every movie he's brought in. They work well together. He made a great Mission Impossible movie before. I am less interested in the let's pick up where our friends left off at the end of Rogue Nation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like it when they bring in new people, which clearly there's new cast, but whatever. It looks great.
Monahan back.
It looks like a big action movie. It's
Very
fun.
quick, Westworld.
Nope. Still nope, man. Sorry, like you can make pretty pictures of men shooting at robot bulls, but wake me when you have a compelling narrative. Wake me when you have a hint of fun.
I have no take other than I hope that Runaway by Kanye is the last time we hear a somber piano version of a pop song in a trailer.
Not gonna be.
Yeah, I know.
Not gonna be. That's the whole show's DNA is somber. That Westworld is the somber cover of a pop song version of a TV show. That's
Yes.
what it is.
Yes.
And I don't see anything that's changed that.
We'll get way more into Westworld as the months go by.
Question for you before we get into
Yeah,
what-
sure. Am I going to watch Westworld?
No, just do you remember? Is there a human character that we're rooting for in this show left from the first season, or is it just Rise of Cobra?
I think Ed Harris is the only human.
Right.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Team Human, man. Sorry.
Okay.
You don't even want to hear my Jack shouldn't have saved the dog take.
All right. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. We're going to talk more about Cloverfield.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Today's episode of The Watch is brought to you by Hotel Tonight. Fun fact, unlike flights or other travel, hotel rates actually get cheaper at the last minute. In fact, Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them sell their unsold rooms, which means you get amazing deals. All it takes is 10 seconds, just 3 taps and a swipe to book a room. No long, endless lists of a zillion hotel choices. Hotel Tonight only shows you the best deals at the best hotels. Perfect for if you're busy or you don't want to overthink things. Plus, you can book up to 100 days in advance in top destinations and up to a week in advance everywhere else. Book next week tonight. Book next month tonight. Book Valentine's Day tonight. It's great for last-minute getaways or a quick staycation, whether you're a planner or you like to leave things to the very last minute. And with Hotel Tonight's HT Perks program, the more you book, the better the deals get. So start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels and download the Hotel Tonight app now. Today's episode of The Watch is brought to you by the Black Tux. You know, everybody wants to look as great as their date at a wedding or a special event. The trouble is, there's no way to spend the amount of time or money that she did shopping for her outfit. TheBlackTux.com is your answer. With a high-quality rental suits and tuxedos delivered right to your doorstep. We've used the Black Tux before. Last year's Oscars, we were looking dapper.
We looked great.
We were
felt
looking
good
like
too.
men of the woods. The Black Tux is the easy way to rent suits and tuxedos online. The Black Tux lets you create your look or choose from tons of stylist-selected outfits. Suits usually retail for $1,200, but at the Black Tux, they start at just $95. Expert customer care has your back every step of the way. It's completely done online. And with the Black Tux free home try-on, you can see the fit and feel the quality of your suit months before your event. After ordering, your suit will arrive 14 days before your event. If anything is less than perfect, the Black Tux will send you a free replacement right away. When your event's over, just drop the rental back in the mail. Shipping is free both ways. To get $20 off your purchase, visit theblacktux.com/watch. That's theblacktux.com/watch for $20 off your purchase. Theblacktux.com. Premium rental suits and tuxedos delivered. Andy, we back. The other big event last night, well, there was 2 big events. There was obviously This Is Us, which we don't really watch, so we can't really comment on. But we are interested in the what?
There was another big event.
Super Bowl?
Yeah.
This Is Us?
Yeah.
Cloverfield?
Oh, that's the third.
Yeah.
I thought you were Xing out Super Bowl from the narrative.
Dude, come on.
Maybe you had a stroke last night. You got really excited.
I think I had 3 or 4 of them. So one of the first ads in during the Super Bowl last night was for Cloverfield Paradox, which was originally a movie called God Particle.
Yeah.
Directed by a guy named Julius Onah, and written by Oren Uziel. And it was supposed to be this like space station sort of disaster sci-fi movie. And it was talked about a couple years ago. The script had been like kind of around. There was a lot of hype about it, and that this was being made, and everybody was really excited about it. And then there were rumors last year that God Particle was being sort of folded in to this Cloverfield universe by Bad Robot, and that it was going to be
Bad
Cloverfield
Robot, J.J.
3.
Abrams Studios.
Yes.
People know, yeah.
And over the last couple of months, there have been a lot of conversations about what was up with Cloverfield, God Particle, whatever it was going to be called. For a while, it was going to be called Cloverfield Station, I believe. Then out of nowhere, pretty much last night, sorry, I should have said this earlier. If you don't want to hear anything about Cloverfield Paradox, you should just go ahead and watch it and you skip this part. The backstory really that you need to know is that it was a Paramount movie. Paramount went through a leadership change. Jim Giannopoulos is in charge of Paramount. And by all accounts, according to The Hollywood Reporter, looked at the slate of movies that he had, decided which ones were basically worth spending money on in theatrical release, and the ones that he decided otherwise, whether it was Annihilation, which is getting offloaded for the most part to Netflix, but will be released in theaters here.
It's crazy.
But they are doing a very strange job marketing that movie, frankly. Or Cloverfield 3, which they just started moving the date around. So it was supposed to be last year, then it was this February, then it was April. There was rumors that J.J. Abrams was purposely causing all this confusion because he had some wild release schedule idea for it. But last night during the Super Bowl, ad for the movie, immediately after the game, available on Netflix. Fantastic idea. Great idea. Everybody wants to watch something after the Super Bowl. Maybe you're not caught up on This Is Us, whatever. Bang, it's right there. I watched this last night. For that very reason, my wife got very excited. We loved the two Cloverfield movies, and I needed something to kind of like chill out. So I watched Cloverfield Paradox last night, and this movie was not ready to be released. It's like 100% not ready to go. It was, whether it was visually, which it was cool, but nowhere near on par what you would expect from a Bad Robot sci-fi movie, especially one in the Cloverfield universe. And also the story was being stretched in 100 different directions, tonally and narratively. One of the reasons that it's really screwed up is that they are really bending over backwards to make this a Cloverfield movie. Okay. So there's that. There's a ton of talent involved in this. It's almost galling how many great people are in the movie who you just can't believe that a movie with Gugu Mbatha-Raw and David Oyelowo and Elizabeth Debicki and Chris O'Dowd and Daniel Bruhl and all these people, you're just like, this is an incredible cast, and the director seems really talented, and it's overseen by J.J. Abrams. And yet there's like a comedy in the middle of it. It's a disaster movie for some of it. It's kind of a weird Event Horizon sci-fi thriller for some of it. And then at the end, it's like bang, Cloverfield. I'm not talking about it in terms of spoilers so much as this was a really mishandled movie. And I feel really bad for all the people who probably worked really hard on it, because I feel like it was a victim of things beyond its control, both on the Bad Robot side and on the Paramount side.
Do you think, I guess my first question is, do you think that the director in Bad Robot can now just low-key keep tinkering on it, like Kanye with Life of Pablo? Like the way that kept changing on title because he kept changing his mind?
Yeah, well, I feel like there is a plot line in this movie that was shot later to retcon it into the Cloverfield world.
Yeah.
And it feels like it. It takes place quite obviously on two sets.
Yes.
And is like, it's really weird how like there's a lot of like, wait, is this taking place in England? So how is he going to get to Philadelphia?
He goes to Philadelphia?
No, he's going to go to Delaware, but there's like a girl from Philadelphia, and you're like, why is she in England? Like, what is happening here?
A lot of Eagle fans in Delaware.
And there's a lot of time, there's a lot of space-time splits, so you can make it up for that. But essentially, this movie is trying to explain how the monster came about, and it's
I've never seen a Cloverfield movie.
So why not? Is it because it's too scary, or because you just have no interest?
I just missed. I'd like to see them now. They sound cool. I honestly I missed it.
What do you think about this idea that we can put out blockbusters with no warning?
I think this entire thing was brilliant. I really admire it. I think that
even if it's a misdirection for this movie's bad.
Well, I'm part of my the credit I'm giving it is for that reason. There are a lot of things that we accept about the movie business or the entertainment business, and particularly in movies, one of them is that when a disaster starts to come into view, there is nothing really you can do about it. You can patch holes in it, you can rewrite it, you can reshoot it, you can re-edit it, you can push it on the release schedule, you can try and hide it, but people know. People know when there's a problem, and bad movies are bad movies. And it's not like when a TV show has a bad episode and you can bounce back from it. What hasn't been possible, really, you can change all those things, but you can't change the conversation. You can't change what something is. Now you can.
Mm-hmm.
For a studio to say, no, this is bad business for us. But for Netflix Netflix is not buying distressed assets here. This is not Bain Capital. Netflix saw a huge opportunity in a brilliant way. What is a money-losing disaster potentially, we don't know, for Paramount
gets them into business with Bad Robot in a big way.
But it's also a slam dunk for Netflix because everything changes. Your expectation changes. It becomes, this could be something fun.
So it doesn't matter if the movie's good or not?
This could be something fun to watch on a night when people are watching television. Mm-hmm. To do it on the Super Bowl, to snatch the post-Super Bowl slot from NBC while advertising on NBC is savage, a sign of what Netflix is going to be doing to the broadcast networks for the next 5 years, 10 years if the networks survive that long. I really admire it. It changes what it is.
There's a couple of things that you can tell with movies when if you here's how to spot a movie in trouble.
Yeah.
And it beyond just like, oh, we haven't seen any of Han Solo yet. What's up with that? When you see the movie, if there is an incessant score that seems incongruous with the action on screen.
Yep.
Bear McCreary does really good work in a lot of different things. I love his music for Battlestar Galactica. Like, that guy's really great. I don't know when he was brought into this process, but basically the music is nonstop and it never lets any human moment in this movie breathe for more than a second. Then you can always tell that there's something up when there are massive tonal shifts within the movie and it turns into a Chris O'Dowd comedy for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, because they were, let's try this.
Or they were like, this movie is scanning too dark. We need to make sure that there's some one-liners in here to put in the trailer or something.
That's also a sign of too many cooks in the edit suite.
Yes, right. Then you can also tell something happened to a movie when parts of the plot that are on Wikipedia aren't in the movie.
I give you another one, voiceover.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of voiceover, if voiceover literally yada yadas things that otherwise would be shot in a screenplay or a movie, that's another way to tell. I don't know if there's voiceover in this, but it's a good tell.
Gugu's really good in this movie, I thought. There's also some really, really powerful emotional quagmires in the movie, like some really like difficult questions that it asks about what you would do if put in this position, but it just never really invests in it. It's almost too ensemble-y. It's all over the place trying to check in on people. So that's some things to look for. Here's another theory that I have about why this movie was rushed up. Cloverfield 4 is apparently in the can. It's called Overlord. It stars Wyatt Russell. Wyatt Russell was going to shoot this movie when Sam Schubie interviewed him last year, I think, for I think it was the Richard Linklater baseball movie. I can't even remember, but we did a profile on Wyatt Russell, and he was on his way to Germany to film this movie.
Oh, this is the World War.
It's called Overlord. Yeah,
I don't know. Do we know that's a Cloverfield movie?
I believe that it is not confirmed yet, but that it is getting brought in, and this is the tagline for it. On the eve of D-Day, American paratroopers are dropped behind enemy lines to carry out a mission crucial to the invasion's success, but as they approach their target, they begin to realize there is more going on in this Nazi-occupied village than a simple military operation. So
let me jump in here for one second.
Nazi zombies.
Possibly. The thing to remember going forward, it may well be a Cloverfield movie, but the thing to remember, just to pull back to the macro version of the business, Bad Robot as a studio, or not mini studio, production company, whatever they are at this point, they want Cloverfield movies. That doesn't necessarily mean they want movies that tie into the Cloverfield mythology. The envy of the business in a lot of ways is Blumhouse, because Blumhouse has found a way to sort of gaming the system makes it sound cheap. They identified a market inefficiency and exploited it. You know, they found a genre of movies, usually horror, that isn't that expensive to make, is reliably popular, even whether it's incredible or whether it's just okay. And they churn them out. They make them cheaply, and they let people be creative in them. And then they have this relationship with Universal where if the movie is exceptional and deserves to go bigger, like Get Out, it goes big.
Right.
But they make a lot of movies that just sort of go away.
I watch all of them, yeah.
And that works for them. Bad Robot is a unique case because it's J.J. Abrams. It started as his vanity shingle, as his company. Right. But Bad Robot got upstream to the very, very highest level of the business because they were making Mission Impossible suddenly, making Star Wars and Star Trek. Part of the company's DNA, though, is doing something smaller. And people who've had meetings over there know that what they want is what is the A+ version of a B movie, which is exactly what Blumhouse does.
Now, I agree with you. But part of the reason why the first two Cloverfield movies are so successful is exactly what you're talking about. The first one is a found footage monster movie where you only see the monster fleetingly. And the second one is basically a kidnapping movie where the monsters are revealed at the very end,
right?
Towards the very last few minutes of the last act of the movie. They're largely successful because they adhere to limited perspective of the characters. This movie is your standard fare Event Horizon, Armageddon, ensemble cast. Everybody gets their shot.
It was a big movie.
Every line of dialogue is expository. Every time you turn around, there's another CNN broadcast on the deck of the spaceship telling you what's going on Earth. I feel like what they wanted from Cloverfield Paradox was to connect the movies, was to create a world where there has been a space-time rupture that caused monsters to come to life and attack the world, and the world is dealing with that aftermath. Overlord is more in line with what you're saying, which is, what if we took a cool World War II mission movie and added a Cloverfield element to it? And I can't wait to see that movie.
Regardless of whether
I couldn't
it's
wait to see Cloverfield Paradox. But I think that they shot their shot on Cloverfield Paradox, Cloverfield Station, God Particle, whatever you want to call it, because I think that they were, it feels like they were like, this could open up the whole thing.
Yes. This could be our jump to the big leagues. I think that's accurate.
This could be the Cloverfieldpedia.
What's interesting about Bad Robot as a company to watch going forward is that J.J. Abrams' DNA is still to tinker. He is.
It's to keep things in the dark.
But also the Spielberg model of like origin story where he likes to make movies in his backyard. Like when I've been over to their offices, they pointed out to me where in the second floor they filmed some of episode 7. Like he will do reshoots in their office building, because you can do that now. What's interesting is that if his instincts are still to be, I'm still making movies in my backyard, but his business model suddenly became, I'm making Star Wars. How do you bridge that divide? It's possible that God Particle was an attempt to sort of be both, but the Netflix decision shows that in the new media economy, maybe being in the middle between those places will actually work. Maybe you can make movies straight down the middle and then at a certain point pivot. They're big projects or little projects. Maybe you don't have to decide at the beginning.
Honestly, it's to go back to the Kanye, analogy you were using. There's no reason why they couldn't fix this movie.
Yes.
If Netflix is like, why don't we do a new version of this or go do an extended version of this? Because it does feel truncated. I don't know. That's not the weirdest thing I ever heard.
It's just really, I think the really significant thing here is to remember that as Netflix announced it was getting into movies, the movie business's response was obviously they felt disrupted, to use the language of the time. But I think a lot of filmmakers' concern was, you are taking something that is unique, which is going to the movies, and turning it literally into television, in that it's just something maybe you have if you feel like it, and you can pause it and walk away from it, or it's not a memorable experience. It's shortening, it's cheapening that experience to some degree. What this movie may represent is the movie studios realizing that this can be a good thing for them. Yeah. That they can turn a problem into a success by partnering with Netflix. Like, I don't know if the Meyerowitz stories make sense on Netflix or if it makes sense in the art house cinemas. I don't know if Bright makes sense, period.
Right.
But but buying up this problem and turning it into a huge slam dunk win, I really think so. I mean, I think that obviously
I'd be curious to know what your sentiment was if you saw it.
Well, I'm just purely going.
No, I know.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, once you see it, I'd be curious to know whether you were like, "Whoa!"
No, I mean,
they really did everybody a dissurvice in this movie, this movie to put this out.
The way I'm talking about this is if I was talking about the Super Bowl being like Jeffrey Lurie's business interests triumphed last night in a way that I'm rooting for. I'm definitely owner talk right here, which is not generally how I like to engage with stuff. But we saw. There's a big ad for Hulu last night for Castle Rock, which looks really cool, incredible cast. Amazon had an ad with your man Bezos stepping in front of the camera. Pulling in a lot of star power. And then Netflix, in some ways, wins it all. Like, these companies are
certainly won the post-game conversation.
These companies are going to war, and they all had a footprint on the game last night, and Netflix won.
Okay, we'll be back on Thursday. Andy's out for that one. Probably do a Ringer staff recommends for that Thursday.
Let's pretend that I'm not going to be here because I'm going to be on a parade float.
Let's emotionally, you will be. Thanks for listening, guys. Go Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Baranskis, we won the Super Bowl.
Today's episode of The Watch was brought to you by Hotel Tonight. Again, I cannot tell you how much I have been loving Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight helps you book amazing hotel deals at great hotels, and even though the name is Hotel Tonight, you can book up to 100 days in advance in top destinations and up to a week in advance everywhere else. They work with cool, top-rated hotels and don't feature those long, endless lists of options that you have to scroll through. Instead, they show you a select list of the best deals at the best hotels at any given time. So start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels. Download the Hotel Tonight app now. Today's episode of The Watch was brought to you by the Showtime hit series Homeland. The show with its finger on the pulse returns for a new season. Abuses of power, civil unrest, agents and double agents. Isolated from the White House and the CIA, Carrie Mathison finds herself with few resources and many disbelievers as she tries to prove that not all conspiracies are theories. Homeland returns with new episodes Sunday at 9 p.m. Download the Showtime app now to start your free trial.